Listen, let the kids go see Hedgehog 2, and you go see that new Michael Bay action thriller, Ambulance. Because when I tell you, oh my gosh, this film is crazy. Here's my review of Ambulance. Here's the thing. This is Michael Bay's best work in 19 years. Now, it's rated R, and the runtime is 2 hours and 16 minutes, which, by the way, is only a 14-minute difference for Sonic. But anyway, so Ambulance is about two brothers who lose their crew during a deadly bank heist, hijack an ambulance with wounded hostages, and recruit gang members to help them evade the entire LAPD. So this action film has elements of Heat, Speed, The Town, Den of Thieves, Born Ultimatum, Wrath of Man, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Equalizer 2, 21 Bridges, Paul Walker's era of Fast and Furious, the best era, the Bad Boys franchise. In fact, one of the greatest car chase scenes, highway scenes ever filmed, I believe, is in Bad Boys 2, and you see elements of that, but Michael Bay elevated all of the action in this film. It takes a good 12 to 15 minutes to establish the world. But then, after all of that is out of the way, you have nothing but nonstop action in this film. So Michael Bay got new sophisticated drone equipment, and he made sure that we knew. He goes nuts with this equipment. Now, I've seen some critics say that these drone shots were very nauseating. If I had to wait in line for an hour or longer for a roller coaster ride, I'm waiting in line because I'm anticipating the thrill. I want to go on this thrill ride. I feel the same way about experiencing action in the theater. If you're going to pay $20, $25 to go see an action film or thriller like this in IMAX or Dolby, you want the turbulence. I loved all of the turbulence. I wanted my money's worth, and I appreciate that, not just about a Michael Bay film, but about a film I'm going to pay my hard-earned money for, especially during these times. So I loved all of that nauseating turbulence. So the drone shots were doing screwballs and triple axles and aerobatic maneuvers, and that's what I paid to see. It's mayhem. You're in the action. You feel like a member of this crew robbing this bank. That's what I paid for. That's what I came to see, and I loved it. The weapons. Now listen, you ever see those actors with guns in some movies, how you can tell right away that they went to the range probably 2 days ago where the director yells action? Not in this film. These actors were so believable. They look like they have been operating weapons for years, for decades. These actors were so convincing. Everybody was gripping their artillery like they knew what they were doing. They were holding bump stocks where they belong. They were holding their hammers like they were ready to go, ready to bust off. Like even the extras were ready to get into it. It looked like they were well-trained cops and villains who'd been operating weapons for years. It was very believable. It didn't look like they were acting at all. Even the extras looked like the real deal. The actors. So Gyllenhaal is funny. Who knew? Now, the jokes weren't hilarious by any stretch, but Gyllenhaal's delivery made them funny. Yahya, he continues to give award-worthy performances. No matter what project he's in, he's going to give you, he's like a masterclass. I love how well he's performing. Eiza, now you can tell her lines were written one-dimensionally, but she elevated the dialogue. She elevated the words off the page, and it was very convincing. She was very convincing as a senior paramedic whose goal was to make it home alive. She was very convincing. She did a great job. The two actors that had the best dialogue in this film were Garret Dillahunt and Olivia Stambouliah. Now listen, when I tell you she was fantastic, as soon as I got out of the theater, I Googled her. I was like, who is this actress? I want to see everything she's in, because she was so fantastic. They were lobbing each other one-liners and so forth. They were so entertaining on screen. Their chemistry was perfection. So the production budget for this film was $40 million, I believe. And it was filmed on Skid Row. Now, I'm not going to stand on a soapbox or none of that, but if you don't know, Skid Row is overpopulated with homeless people in downtown LA. And it's minutes away from the Federal Reserve. It was glaring the lengths that cops or the feds would go to secure, protect, or reclaim money passing by homeless people. Like in this film, you could see the tents and so forth that are set up for all of those, for homeless people on Skid Row. Cops were willing to sacrifice pedestrians, anyone, everybody, to get this money back for a measly few $1,000,000. And that was striking. And I think that was purposeful in this film. And they were also trying to protect the hostages, but we know what they really wanted to protect. I have a couple of criticisms, but my criticisms didn't ruin the film for me. Editing. And I know that Michael Bay had an issue with the editing too, but he's coming from a perfectionist standpoint. I enjoyed this film despite my criticisms, and I think you could too. Editing. Gyllenhaal's stunt double, there's this one scene, at least one scene, and I won't spoil it. This is a spoiler-free review, and I bet you'll be able to spot it when you see it, but his stunt double in this scene looked nothing like him, and you can tell that I thought they can't possibly care. Like they don't care that he doesn't look like it. It's a great scene, but you will be able to spot immediately that this isn't Gyllenhaal. It was so funny to me. Also, there is this huge mastiff, which I believe is actually Michael Bay's dog, if I'm not mistaken. But there's this scene where he's in the car, and this doesn't spoil the film. This is without context, but he's in the car with one of the cops. And in earlier scenes, it's mentioned that the Mastiff smells, but he's in the squad car with this cop, and he doesn't mention that at all, which is like, that doesn't make sense. Like you would have noticed the stench, and he doesn't notice it for a long time. And then you can also see whoever Michael Bay hired to handle the dog on set. You can actually see the handler in the shot. There was also issues with continuity, but they're not bothersome, and it's not enough to expound on, but there were continuity issues. And lastly, my criticism is of the finale. Now, the finale was too long and too preachy. but I'm glad there was some redemption. But we didn't necessarily need it. But it was fine to be in there. My grade for Ambulance is a B. This is a must-see film in the theaters. In the theaters. This is such a great film. Like I said, this is Michael Bay's best work in 19 years. This film, as soon as the action starts, and it gets right to the business. Like, it is such a great film. This is a fantastic film. You have to see this film. It's so great, and I hope it does business this week. Well, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate you. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.